Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another episode of Spoiler Sunday. So today's the day of the week where I take a look at all of the new news and spoilers that we got over in Japan, and, well, talk about them. So continuing on with the EX04 hype train, we got about 17 new cards on the docket to take a look at, so let's just dive right in and see what we got. So first up, we got the green Digitama in the form of Kokomon. So this is going to be a really good draw engine for those decks that want to suspend their own Digimon. Namely, this is supposed to play around with the Renkei or Alliance mechanic, but it also works in decks like Bloomlord and Shiva, where we want to utilize our Digimon as a way to generate extra resource and value. So Kokomon is capitalizing on this with its inheritable ability, where during your turn, once per turn, when your Digimon is suspended by an effect, then we get to draw one card, acting as one of the better draw engines for those style of decks. Next up, we got a new version of Lopmon. So Lopmon is making the color shift to green, and it kind of makes sense considering a lot of these new cards are going to be based off of green and then stem into black or yellow as far as this new Lopmon Terriermon deck is concerned, especially with the Renkei or Alliance synergy it's trying to play around with. So Lopmon is going to be acting as the deck's stereotypical digger, with its on-play ability allowing us to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck, add 1 2-color green Digimon and 1 Tamer with Su Chong Wong in its name from among them into our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. So basically our higher level Digimon and our old Tamer, and we might even get a new Tamer, who's to say, but its inheritable ability is also pretty good for the deck, where during your turn, when your Digimon is suspended by a card effect of Alliance or Renkei, then this Digimon can evolve into a 2-color green Digimon from your hand. When you would Digivolve by this effect, we also get to reduce the Digivolution cost by 2, allowing us to easily try to climb our stages, which is a very stereotypical green thing to do. Next up, we have a new version of Terriermon. So Terriermon is going to be a level 4 yellow and green Digimon. So again, it wants to fit inside of this Lopmon Terriermon Alliance deck, where we could Digivolve it either for 3 on top of a yellow or green level 3, or we could just Digivolve it for 2 on top of a Digimon with Lopmon or Terriermon in its name. Then it natively has the Alliance or Renkei mechanic. Then on top of that, its inheritable ability is an end of attack ability, where once per turn, when we have another Digimon suspended in play, then one of the opponent's Digimon gains minus 2000 DP for the turn. It's just a very stereotypical yellow thing to do. Next, we have a brand new version of Windigomon. So Windigomon is, again, another card to try to fit inside of that Terriermon Lopmon style of deck, where it's going to Digivolve for 2 on top of those, or you could Digivolve it for 3 on top of any purple or any green Digimon. Then it has the Alliance ability, which is what that deck is trying to do, and it has a nice end of attack ability where once per turn, if you have another suspended Digimon in play, which you should because you just used Alliance, then we get to return 1 green Digimon card from our trash to our hand, which is just pretty good cycling on our green Digimon, which green hasn't really had a whole lot of before. And then to round out the whole Terriermon Lopmon style of deck, we have a secondary Antylamon in the set. So this is going to be a level 5 purple and green Antylamon instead of a yellow and green Antylamon that we already saw earlier. But regardless, it's still going to Digivolve for 3 all the same from a 2-color level 4 green Digimon. And it also has the Alliance ability, so it wants to synergize with everything else that the deck seems to want to do. And it even has its own native end of attack ability, where we get to play a level 3 green costed Digimon from our trash for free, which is actually pretty good, again, because that's something green hasn't really had access to. Then it has a nice inheritable ability for whatever the level 6 is actually going to be, where at the end of the attack once per turn, if we have another Digimon suspended in play, we get to return 1 green Digimon, doesn't even specify the level, from our trash back into our hand, so that way we have even more ways to be able to recycle our cards. Next up, we got a new version of Fake Agumon Expert. So this Fake Agumon Expert really isn't doing anything too special, it just has a nice ability where during your turn, once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, then by discarding 1 card with the same level as the deleted Digimon, we get to draw 2 cards, so it's just acting as some extra good cycling. Next, we have a new version of Guilmon. So Guilmon is getting yet again another line of support, and this Guilmon, more specifically, is actually a pretty good card for just a lot of Gallantmon base decks to use, not necessarily just the Megidramon / chaosgallantmon version of the deck. So what this card is doing for being a 2-color Digimon for a rookie, he could Digivolve for 1 on top of a level 2 purple or red Digimon, which is a little bit more expensive to use in the raising, but obviously he can Digivolve for 0 on top of a Gigimon, which is how you're going to be using the card more often than not. Then on top of that, he actually has a pretty good on-play ability that takes advantage of just all of the tech and tools that Gallantmon wants to lean into, more specifically the Megidramon side of things with trying to set up the trash to a particular trash count. So his on-play ability states that if there are a combined total of 20 or more cards in both players' trashes, then this Digimon gains the rush ability for the turn. So this combos really nicely with just a lot of the Megidramon cards wanting to try to res our Guilmon, so that way this card can gain rush and be extra aggressive with, or we could even just use this with our EX03 WarGrowlmon, so that way we could try to play the Guilmon for free off of the card, and it could swing right away as long as it meets the trash requirements, which the card helps set up, and probably a lot of the other cards are going to help set up as well. Then on top of all of that, we could just use this card as just a simple hard play rusher to try to add some extra aggro into the deck. Next, we have a brand new version of BlackWarGrowlmon. So BlackWarGrowlmon doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to be that great of a card to use in just the red X antibody Gallantmon deck, just because it doesn't actually have the ability to interact with our Growlmon X antibody, because it's specifically looking for just Growlmon, not BlackWarGrowlmon. But despite that, it's actually going to be a pretty good card in the Megidramon chaosgallant version of the deck, which is going to be the more supported version, given the fact that it is an alternate version of what Gallantmon usually is. So for a level 4 red and purple Digimon, he could Digivolve for 3 on top of a red or purple level 3, or you could just make him cheaper by Digivolving him for 2 on top of a Guilmon. Then he has a nice when Digivolving ability that, again, is trying to support the Megidramon style, where we're trying to trash not only just our deck, but the opponent's deck as well, where we trash the top 2 cards of both players' decks. Then we get to return a Guilmon or a card with Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name from our trash to our hand for some good recycling, especially if the card does get milled. Then its inheritable ability is a nice on-delete ability for when our higher stage Digimon eventually gets deleted if they do, considering this type of a deck usually doesn't have any built-in protections, so it's not that hard of an ability to trigger, where we, again, just get to recycle our cards by returning one Guilmon or one card with Growlmon or Gallantmon in its name from our trash to our hand for more reusability. Next, we have a brand new version of BlackWarGrowlmon. So again, similar to Growlmon, we can't use this with the X form because, well, it's again specifically looking for our WarGrowlmons, not our BlackWarGrowlmons or WarGrowlmon in its name. But this is still, again, just really good at supporting the Megidramon style of deck, where he could Digivolve cheaper than he normally would for Digivolving him on top of a card with Growlmon in its name. And then on top of that, his when Digivolving ability is, again, more trashing of both players' decks, where we get to trash the top 3 from both players' decks to then choose any number of the opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 3,000 or less and delete them, and then for every 10 cards in both players' trashes, then we get to add 2,000 to the maximum DP in which this card's able to reach, so he's going to be some good mid-level control. Next, we actually finally got a new version of chaosgallantmon. So we were kind of due for a new version of chaosgallantmon, considering Megidramon has been counting as chaosgallantmon to kind of fill in that gap and take up that mantle. But this chaosgallantmon is actually pretty good, just because he has some usability with interacting with both colors, so that way we could use more synergy, and on top of that, he's going to cost a little bit cheaper than he normally would with his baseline stats if we Digivolved him on top of a level 5 with WarGrowlmon in its name, which is ideally how the deck wants to play. then he actually has a pretty interesting ability that activates from the trash, where at the end of your turn, by deleting one of your Digimon with Gallantmon in its name with Digivolution sources, then we get to play this card from our trash for free. So for basically deleting our Gallantmon, we get to play this card instead, and he actually has a pretty good on-play ability to try to synergize and interact with his first ability to be able to play him for free, and any of our Megidramons that want to play him for free as well, where we could then delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 7,000 DP or less. Then for every 10 cards in both players' trashes, we could add 2,000 to the maximum DP in which this card is able to reach in terms of his deletion-based ability. Next, we got one of the SRs in the set, which is going to be Medieval Gallantmon. So Medieval Gallantmon is going to be a pretty interesting card to be playing around with because he's in the color combination of red and green. I don't necessarily know if that's actually going to matter, but he does have two very strong abilities. His first one is a nice security ability where we get to play this card for free and it doesn't do any battle, but it does return to our hand at the end of the turn. But that's still just pretty good, being able to spawn a Digimon for free to get its on-play effect and to be able to use for various other synergies, especially since it's going to go to our hand, so that way we could then try to use it later. But the on-play / when attacking ability we're actually trying to gain out of the card for its security ability and, well, digivolving and swinging with it is the fact that we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, and if no Digimon was deleted, then we get to suspend one of the opponent's Digimon down, and also that Digimon can't unsuspend during the opponent's unsuspend phase, so it's either deleting the Digimon or stun locking it, which is pretty decent of an ability already, especially coming out of our security. Next, we got a new duo tamer in the form of Matt and Tai. So it's about time these two make a reappearance as a duo tamer, and this time they're going to be in the color combination of blue and red, instead of white like the last time that we saw it. But they're both still going to be interacting with Omnimon, and it's still a 4-costed tamer. So it has a nice ability where during your turn, when your Agumon or Gabumon is played, by suspending this tamer, we get to gain 1 memory to make playing those Digimon a little bit cheaper and easier to do. Then it has a pretty nice secondary ability that's going to be trying to help make playing our Omnimon Alter S a little bit easier, where during your turn, once per turn, when your Digimon digivolves, if you have 1 or less Digimon in play and that Digimon has Greymon in its name, then we could play 1 Gabumon, or if that Digimon has Garurumon in its name, then we get to play 1 Agumon from our hand or trash without paying its cost. So it's trying to help set up our secondary Digimon to then be able to evolve into it really quickly into our level 6 to enable our DNA play into our new Omnimon Alter S. And then speaking of making our Digivolutions cheap and easy to do, next we have a new version of Greymon. So this is a black virus version of Greymon, and he has a nice when digivolving ability where we get to digivolve one of our other Digimon into a level 6 or lower Digimon with Garurumon in its name from our hand by paying its memory cost, and when we digivolve through this effect, then we get to reduce the Digivolution cost by 2, so that way it's, again, easier to be able to climb our stages to get to level 6 bodies on our field to then line up our Alter S play. Then he has a nice inheritable ability of Reboot, which is just a pretty generic black inheritable ability to have. And then we have a new virus version of Garurumon in black that's basically doing the exact same thing as the Greymon that we just saw, except instead of digivolving our Digimon into Garurumon, we're digivolving them into Greymon this time with that same generically good inheritable ability of Reboot. Next up, we have a brand new version of Sunomon. So this is going to be a black version of Sunomon, and it's actually going to be one of the better generic Digitamas black has had in a very long time. So its inheritable ability states that during your turn, once per turn, when another one of your Digimon digivolves, then we get to draw 1 card. So if this is just sitting underneath one of our Digimon, and we have another one sitting on our field that we're digivolving into, then just the act of digivolving is helping us draw extra cards, which is something black really hasn't had a whole lot of, and especially since the way this deck wants to be played in terms of the new Omnimon Alter S deck, we want to have as many cards in our hand and draw as many cards as we possibly can, so this is just a really good Digitama to help with that. Next, we got a brand new version of Agumon. So this is another black virus version of Agumon, and it's going to be acting as a really good digging tool for this Alter S style of deck. So it has an on-play ability where we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck, add 1 Digimon card with Greymon in its name, and 1 Digimon card with Gabumon, Garurumon, or Omnimon in its name among them, and put it into our hand, and the rest go to the bottom. So it's looking obviously for our evolution pieces, and it's looking for our other evolution line to be able to, well, have as many resources as we can to be able to smoothly climb 2 stacks at the same time. Then its inheritable ability is also pretty good, allowing us to be able to help set up our Digimon even easier, where during your turn, once per turn, when your other Digimon digivolves, then we get to gain 1 memory. And then the last card that we got is going to be a brand new version of Gabumon that's basically doing the exact same thing as the Agumon we just saw, where it's going to be digging for our Garurumon as 1 card, and the other card is going to be Agumon, Greymon, or Omnimon. And again, it has that same inheritable ability where it's just going to try to make our Digivolutions as efficient and cheap as we could possibly make it to be able to set up 2 stacks and be able to Digivolve all the way up, ideally into our level 7. But yeah, that's it for all of the spoilers that we got this week. I really think it's going to be interesting to see how this new Omnimon deck is actually going to play, along with the new Terriermon and Lopmon deck is going to play, especially since we haven't really touched or delved into some of the other colors to see what cards we're actually going to be getting and what's going to be getting some support. It's really nice to see that Guilmon, especially the Digimon chaosgallantmon side, is getting some support, and I'm really curious to see how this is actually going to impact the meta, if it's going to impact the Japanese meta at all. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.